Hello everybody, thank you for joining us in today's interview with Jeremy Beracha, Luxury Cruise Connections Operations and Sales Enablement Manager. He recently was on board one of the newly refurbished Crystal ships on one of the inaugural or preview events they had. And so he's today with us to talk to us a little bit about his experience and what to expect on your next Crystal cruise. So Jeremy, without any further ado, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Jeremy, so first of all, when did you cruise with Crystal?
So I sailed with Crystal on August 26th all the way through September 1st on the Crystal Symphony.
On the Crystal Symphony. And overall, did you come back with a smile? What did you think?
Overall, I came back with a smile. I think I messaged you multiple times throughout the trip about how much fun I was having. It definitely was an outstanding experience for me, being the first time sailing on a luxury cruise line. I was really taken aback by the level of service, the quality of the food, the attentiveness, and then how tailored it was and personalized it was for me in my experience.
So you've been in the cruise industry for some time now, right? A few years now. And you've been with us for at least 2 years, approximately? You might have not sailed on a lot of luxury ships, but you've been exposed to a lot. So you had an expectation in mind by the time you got there. You know what luxury is about. You know what luxury clients expect. What did you think when you walked on board the ship?
Yeah, being exposed to it every day, my expectations were a little high going there. First of all, the ship itself, the attention to detail on board the ship, not necessarily, yes, the service and all that, but the ship itself, like the hardware, was just so luxurious, and it makes you feel like you really are sailing on another level, in another category. And
that's very important. A lot of our clients are probably wondering, I think what most of our audience wants to know is, well, these ships were, out of operation for a long time, right? We all know the history of what happened with Crystal. The ships were part of the old Crystal, sold to the new Crystal, which is now under the A&K management, and they put a lot of money into those ships. And we know the ships are not new, at least not Symphony and Serenity. Hopefully they'll come up with some new ships at one point, but we know these ships are not new. But there's a lot of guests and a lot of people that hold this, they hold these ships very dear to their hearts. So two important questions I want to ask you. Number one is, do they feel like new, meaning did they actually put a lot of money into them? Do they feel like you're sailing in a relatively new ship? But at the same time, do you feel that, will it continue to appeal to those past Crystal guests that were used to that traditional Crystal feel?
So I stayed in a Sapphire Veranda suite, and the one that I stayed in was not refurbished. So they sort of refurbished some of the ship, of the staterooms at least, but not all of them. I did get to tour the newly refurbished suite, and it's then like, you still get the luxury experience, but in a room that is just modern and full of like blues and grays, more light. They got rid of the bathtub, for example, in that new Sapphire Veranda suite, but the shower is massive. It's just huge. And personally, I had a bathtub in mind because I got the older version and I didn't use it once. I would have gone more towards that.
The Sapphire.
The new well, it's the same category, but the new stateroom.
Right.
Newly refurbished, just has a massive shower over the head. The shower's over the head, and it's just way more spacious.
Good. So I guess they're trying to appeal to everybody. They're trying to appeal to those that want to, experience the same traditional Crystal feel. But at the same time, if you want something that feels a little bit newer and a little bit more modern, then you can choose to stay in one of those.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. And they also, going to the staterooms, they got rid of, they lowered the capacity. So they went from about 900 passengers. Now they're at 600 passengers. And they removed some of those lifeboats to put a bigger penthouse suite.
Okay.
And I toured that stateroom, and it is just
Insane.
It's beautiful. And there's a bathtub right on the window. where you can just have the best view while you take bath. So it was a crazy stay.
Beautiful, beautiful. Do you by any chance remember the square footage of that suite? Just felt huge.
Just felt huge. You had the living room, you had a little office space, you had a vanity, you had his and hers, walk-in closets, you had the separate shower from the toilet. It was just very spacious, and then the veranda was just massive as well.
Okay, good. Can you tell us a little bit about the amenities and facilities on board the ship? Like, what in your experience, how did you find the common areas and anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, the common areas were, I actually, since I had the time to actually explore the ship, I took advantage of the spa. For example, I used a steam room.
Tell me about the spa. How did you find the spa?
So the spa was a little small, intimate, but it had all the amenities that you want to take advantage of while you're at sea. For example, you have the sauna, you have the steam room, and then of course the massage rooms where you can relax. The gym is a little small, but I think serves its purpose.
I mean, for 600 and something guests.
Yeah, definitely. And then I would say my favorite common area, I would have two. One of them is Avenue Saloon, which at night is like a piano bar and it's open till late, and you have this gentleman playing the piano and people request songs, and it's very interactive experience, and people are just singing and having a good time. And it's like a little old school, like an actual saloon, so it's pretty cool. And then for me, the cafe on the deck 6, having such good Wi-Fi allowed me to stay connected with work, and I would usually around 5 p.m. would go sit down at the cafe, order an espresso, and get some work done from there.
So that was actually going to be an expression. The Wi-Fi, just I know they retrofitted the entire Wi-Fi solution within the ship. So now you can basically travel on Crystal and be connected if you want to be at a high speed.
Yeah. The Wi-Fi worked perfectly, actually good enough, and I had the basic one, and it worked good enough for me to even get connected to Zoom calls and stuff. So it gave me the ability to work on board while also relax at the same time. Okay. So it was the best of both worlds.
Okay. So for those that are traveling the world on leisure, they can stay connected with home, with their family, with their loved ones back home, and still explore the world nicely. And a little bit about the entertainment. Aside from what you just mentioned, any other entertainment that you happen to have enjoyed?
Yeah, so a few nights, 3 out of the 6 nights, or 4 out of the 6 nights, we had there was a show in the theater, and one of them was an Elton John, I would say impersonator or an Elton John act, and he just went through like a compilation of his biggest songs, and I think that was very enjoyable. So that was really a highlight.
Now let's talk about the service. How was the level of service provided by the staff? Like, how did you feel in terms of the crew, the staff? Did it feel luxurious? I know that you had not sailed on the previous Crystal. I know they claim that a lot of the principles of service are carried on or have been carried on to the new Crystal. But in general, just as a guest, how did you feel?
As a guest, I felt very welcome, very, very attended to. Really, they're at your disposition, at your disposal. Everyone there is, from the bartender all the way to your butler, they're there to serve you. And going back to your point about the old Crystal and having that top level service, I did ask around, and I think about 85% of the crew from the previous Crystal is back on board. So
okay.
they've continued that going on. For example, the butler I had in my stateroom, he had been with Crystal since the early 90s. So you could definitely tell that he was at least from what I've heard in the past, from the old Crystal, is carried on, because he was there, he was attentive, responsive, he came in, gave me a tour of the stateroom, showed me how I could connect with him easily whenever I needed him. And really when I called, he answered. So at least from that side, it was definitely over the top.
And from what I've been told, the butlers are really there to deliver another level of experience that can really go above and beyond and do stuff beyond, what a traditional room attendant would do. I know that you were on a little bit of a short cruise, so you probably didn't have a lot of opportunities to, use or abuse the butler. But obviously, just having one really makes that experience another level. Did you participate in any of the excursions?
I did. So being a preview cruise,
Okay.
we actually had short excursions included. We had a list of 3 to choose from.
They're normally not included.
They're normally not included, yes. They're normally not included, being a preview cruise, and they gave us, the preview on those short excursions, and we had a list of 3 to choose from in every port, and my favorite one was actually in Dubrovnik. I did a biking tour, so we went by bus like 40 minutes out, by like the mountains, right on the border with
Were the regular bikes or e-bikes or?
they were mountain bikes.
Okay.
So we did this tour by the mountains. We saw some waterfalls. It's a nice little bike ride. And then on the way back, when we dropped off the bikes, it was actually at a winery. So we had the chance to sit down. We had a charcuterie board, and then we had some wine tasting. So it was a great way to end the bike trip with some snacks.
It's very nice. And what's interesting is it seems like they're offering a very interesting array of excursion options. Active for those who want to be more active, but as well, I'm sure there were some options for a little bit slower paced activities if somebody didn't want to be so active.
Definitely. From that list of 3, for example, we also had a walking tour of the old city of Dubrovnik where they filmed Game of Thrones. In the other ports such as Corpula or Olympia, we had walking tours and also snorkeling, cave sightseeing. So there's definitely activities for everyone.
Any from the destinations you visited, was Dubrovnik your favorite one? Any other destination that stand out?
I would say probably Corpula was my favorite one because in Dubrovnik I did the biking tour and I didn't really spend time in Dubrovnik itself with that tour. But in Corpula, I signed up for the kayaking tour, and due to bad weather, I had to. They actually canceled that excursion, so I ended up doing a walking tour instead. And I did get to see the city, so I like the architecture was beautiful. It made you feel like you were in medieval times. It's quite interesting. You don't see that every day.
Cool. Let's go into the dining part of the experience. Dining had always been a big part of the Old Crystal. It is extremely important to most of our guests when they're traveling, and definitely is a pillar of basically any luxury cruise line out there. How was your dining experience with Crystal?
My dining experience with Crystal was actually, it was outstanding, I would say.
Okay.
All the way from...
It took you a second to find the right word to
Yeah,
describe it.
yeah, it did. I could describe it with many positive words, but the buffet upstairs was, you're having food from a buffet, but the quality, the tenderness of the steak is just as if you were eating at a 5-star restaurant, 3 Michelin star restaurant. Then you go downstairs to the dining room. I think the dining room is waterside. You go downstairs to the dining room and you're not in a buffet, you get actually plates well decorated, and then the flavors are just over the top. I had lobster a couple times during my trip and it was very well cooked. I had lamb chops, which were delicious as well. And then I also had the chance to experience the specialty dining restaurants.
Okay.
Osteria
Okay.
and Umiuma.
Okay.
Osteria was, being a preview cruise, they gave us a tasting menu.
Okay.
So we didn't really get to experience the entire menu.
Okay. Osteria is, what was it, an Italian restaurant?
Yeah, Italian restaurant. And then Umiuma is the noble restaurant at sea that is his signature restaurant at sea on board Crystal only.
Right. One of the things that Crystal made sure they brought back as soon as
Oh yeah.
they were acquired by NK, and I think we're all hoping for it to be a hit as much as it was before. And you get a chance to eat there.
I did, yes.
And
Delicious.
okay,
Delicious, but then again, it was a tasting menu, and one of the comments on board was, you need to come back
for the full
experience, because the tasting menu apparently was very limited
okay,
and didn't really give you that.
the full array of options.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm super excited to go on board Crystal, specifically to try out the new one. I mean, we've heard incredible reviews since they relaunched, so very much looking forward to it. And what about onboard activities? Did you take advantage of any onboard activities? Was there anything in particular that?
Onboard activities, besides the shows,
Did you play bingo?
I did not play bingo. I should have read the daily planner more often. I was just in my excursions and just on my own exploring. But activity-wise, it was more the white party that they had one of the nights. That one
Is that something that happens that happened particularly for the preview cruise, or?
I'm actually not sure.
Right.
I'm actually not sure about that one, but it did happen on the preview cruise. It was a white night party, and it was a lot of fun. It was in the main lobby. There was live music, dancing. They actually got their performers to put on a show, like dancing show, and people were just having a great time. They were socializing, having a drink by the bar or whatever it may be. But it was definitely a great time.
So you basically enjoyed the dining activities, the ship. We talked about the common areas. You had coffee throughout the ship. You enjoyed the Wi-Fi. Talk to me about not so much what your experience was in terms of service, but how did the ship look all throughout? You told me about the staterooms and suites, but what about the money they invested all throughout the ship? How did it look like?
Having not seen the past Crystal, I can't compare, but seeing the newer refurbished ship, I can definitely say that it's just they kept some of their traditional venues, but other common areas were more spacious. They were the furniture seemed more modern. The details on board the ship, just you could tell that it was newer, and it just gave you that sense of old school mixed with new modern luxury. So it was definitely a sight to see. I was shocked when I walked in and saw the big waterfall with the statue in the main lobby. It was beautiful, and then you have the staircase going up to deck 6. I was really taken aback by that.
Right. And what about that? Did it feel way too elegant, or just elegant enough? Dress code wise, just all around, how did it feel?
It was very. When you say elegant, you tend to think of tuxedo, suit and tie, but I would say it was elegant in the sense of how people carried themselves on board and the level of how they carried themselves. But dress code wise, it was a little more country club, laid back. So during the day, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and then at night I would wear maybe some pants and a button down. I only wore a blazer once. At no other point did I feel out of place or the only one not wearing a blazer. Actually, people wear more, fresh linen, more laid back, button down, but linen button down, more loose with some dress pants. So you
can dress up if you want to, but you can dress down a little bit as well and still feel comfortable.
I believe, yes, but I believe if it's a 7-night or longer sailing, they do have a formal night.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. But since mine was 6 nights, and I guess being a preview cruise also wasn't really like that, but I think 7 nights or longer, you do have at least one formal night.
Overall, would you go back?
Yes. Overall, I would go back in a heartbeat, not only for the service, because you do want to feel that level of service every so often, because it was really over the top, but more for the experience overall, not just service or food, but also the shore excursions, the people that you meet on board. It was one of the best trips that I've been on, for sure.
Amazing. Well, that's great. Anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
I think I covered everything. But if you've considered sailing in luxury, if you've considered sailing with Crystal in the past, I would highly encourage all of you take that step forward and go for it, because you will not be disappointed, and it really is one of the most beautiful ships I've been on, and an amazing experience.
That's great. And Crystal is going to be investing even more money in the company. As they were bought by A&K, they're planning to add more ships. They've already got the current new builds.
Yeah, I think they spoke about 2 more ocean vessels and then 2 expedition ones for the near future in the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
And the expectation is that as they are basically trying to regain the market's trust, what they have right now out there in terms of pricing is an incredible value. This is not a cruise line that we're going to see a lot of deep discount promotions or anything like that. I think that they've committed to just offering a lot of value instead of discounting the price to protect against brand integrity. But the expectation is for pricing to continue to go up as they regain the market's trust. So if anybody is curious, I think, as Jeremy's saying, we highly encourage you to try Crystal and take advantage of the amazing value they're offering right now at the introductory prices, I guess, as we may call them. But it definitely feels like they've got it together, right? It definitely feels like they brought back the best of what they had before and added a lot of new stuff to make it even better. And their commitment to maintaining that reputation that they had for being such a luxurious cruise line is definitely carried on in this new.
Yeah, and I think to add on to what you just said, the fact that they reduced space on board in terms of passenger capacity from 900 something to around 650, that will also allow for them to deliver that, that value that you just mentioned, and that more personalized experience, and continue to provide the best level of service possible.
Amazing. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me today in this interview. And hopefully we'll see you again when next luxury cruise you go on. And thank you all for paying attention and staying with us throughout this interview. And we look forward to seeing you soon on the next one. Bye-bye.